I would like to start by thanking you for your excellent leadership and the outstanding manner in which you led us through these annual meetings. I would like to especially thank His Excellency, President Nana Akufo-Addo, President of Ghana, for hosting us for the annual meetings in Ghana.
De la République du Ghana, le président
This has been an amazing annual
nous a accueillis lors de l'ouverture des assemblées. Il y a 3 jours. Vous avez tous laissé de côté vos activités habituelles pour vous joindre à nous. En temps ordinaire, pendant la pandémie, s'il n'y avait pas la pandémie, vous seriez avec nous physiquement. Et cela ne vous a pas empêché d'être connecté. Et vous êtes joints à nous pendant ces 3 jours. Nous avons écouté. Alors, quels sont les messages que nous avons entendus? Nous avons entendu que nous devons traiter de l'inégalité dans l'accès aux vaccins et soutenir l'Afrique dans la production des vaccins. Nous avons entendu votre soutien pour le
manufacturing capacity. We heard we should build quality health infrastructure for Africa. We will do so, paying close attention to our comparative advantage, working with other partners. We heard we should strongly support economic governance, debt transparency, and domestic resource mobilization for countries. We heard strong support for the African Financial Stability Mechanism and the call to work closely with central banks and ministers of finance across Africa, the African Union, and the IMF, and learn from experiences of other regions. We heard about the need to strongly support Africa with the special drawing rights of the IMF. The African Development Bank should be well positioned to receive SDRs for Africa. We will continue to work with the IMF, the World Bank, and donors on this. We heard of the need to be more ambitious and more strongly support green recovery. We heard we should boost our support for climate adaptation. We should do all we possibly can to make COP26 a huge success for Africa, especially to secure resources for the African Adaptation Acceleration Program. We heard that the time is now for developed economies to meet their promise of $100 billion per year to support climate finance. We heard we should support an inclusive recovery process and create hope and economic opportunities for women. We should pay special attention to the youth, the present, and the future of Africa. We heard the need to further strengthen our governance systems, and we will. The IT and media platform was superb. It allowed us to engage in an excellent studio format, connecting everyone from around the world, facilitated by excellent moderators. We gender marked all the moderators. 100% of all the moderators were women. That is why it worked so well. Our connection with you and yours with us were via the screen, but your words were live. Not only were they live, they gave life to further inspire us on our aspirations. Aspirations to make our bank stronger. Aspirations to build resilient economies in the post-COVID-19 era. Aspirations to do more for Africa. There were lots of ideas. I will not go over them, but can assure you We have taken note of every single one of them and will consider them as we reflect on the way forward. He also came with some good news to help us on the way forward. Germany announced the fantastic news of approval of 100 million euros towards the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa. This is a great shot in our arm as we continue to drive renewable energy in Africa. Thank you also to Germany for providing an additional 25 million euros in funding for the African Development Fund. What a boost. We are delighted that Canada accelerated the payments of its GCI-7 from 8 years to 3 years. That is so wonderful. It will be great if several other shareholders follow this example where possible. I was delighted with the excellent news that China will support the special agro-industrial processing zones in Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you to every governor, every shareholder, for all you do for the bank in support of Africa. We value you and all your support. The journey ahead of Africa for full recovery will be long, but it is a journey to a brighter future for Africa, well worth the effort. As we heard from one of the youth, it is our future that is at stake. Let us together give a better future to Africa. When the history is written on how Africa recovered from this pandemic, let it be said that the 2021 annual meetings was a turning point that made the difference. Many thanks to all our boards of directors, senior advisors, the Secretary General, the Board Secretariat, the General Counsel, and his staff, senior management, and staff of the bank, the speakers, the moderators, the translators, and all the IT, media, and communication staff who put up such an outstanding and memorable performance to host us on the excellent platform. This is President Adesina signing off. Until I see you next year, physically in Accra, so long. Thank you all very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am thinking that by the time you finish your tenure, a TV deal will be a very good one for you. Honorable Governors, I would like to announce the new Bureau of the Board of Governors. Based on your decision that the next annual meetings of the bank will be held in Ghana, Ghana hereby becomes the chairperson of the Board of Governors for 2022. Ghana will be supported by Belgium as the first vice chairperson, and further supported by Nigeria as the second vice chairperson. And because Ghana will be hosting the next annual meetings, it is customary that we showcase the country, and hopefully this time around, we will come physically to verify the things that we showcase in the next video. Could you please show the video for Ghana? Thank you.
Located at the center of the world, Ghana is the best investment destination in West Africa and ranks as West Africa's first in the Ease of Doing Business Report 2019. It was projected as one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with a growth rate of 6.8% in 2019, and has been declared as Africa's new bright spot after being ranked 4th in the world and 1st in Africa in the 2019 Global Retail Development Index. As the host of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Ghana is creating the linkages that will make it the gateway to Africa, aided by dynamic policies, a stable political environment, and strong economic fundamentals. It is a land of opportunities, offering businesses across many sectors the potential to flourish. The country is open and accessible to investors and the private sector, providing a peaceful environment and upholding the rule of law. The government of Ghana is confident and optimistic about the positive results in its investment drive through the GIPC. Ghana has 8 million hectares of arable land, well irrigated by a wide network of water bodies, making it a region ready for large-scale mechanized agriculture. The government and major policy planners recognize that expanding the agro-industrial base is the best path to develop. Ghana has put in place the right legal and regulatory framework to increase foreign direct investment. The Industrial Zones Program allows manufacturers and agro-processors to take advantage of favorable tax and duty incentives to produce for exports from Ghana into the EU and US markets. A rich cultural history and wonderful natural beauty makes Ghana a great tourist destination. The Year of Return Tourism and Marketing campaign in 2019 positioned Ghana as a key travel and investment destination for African Americans and people of the global diaspora. The year recorded significant increases in the number of visitors to Ghana. Ghana's growing consumer market is providing compelling reasons for investing in the services sector. The retail sector has been valued at $24.4 billion. A growing middle class with increasing purchasing power is creating demand for a wider variety of sophisticated services in healthcare, finance, and education. In the region, Ghana has one of the highest mobile penetration rates at 140%, with data penetration at 89%. The country has a thriving startup scene, helped by access to broadband internet that runs on fiber optic and 4G networks. The fintech industry is worth over $50 billion. Ghana is an English-speaking nation located in the center of the geographical world, with flight times from Europe or America averaging about 8 hours. Transportation networks in and out of the country have received enhancements in order to aid the ease of doing business. It has a new international airport terminal and an expanded port infrastructure. TEMA port is one of the largest in Africa, with a capacity to handle 3.5 million TEUs. The expansion in the economy is largely due to oil and gas development. Other sustainable sources of power, like solar, wind, and thermal, will significantly increase the country's energy resources. We invite you to share in Ghana's optimism, be part of the incredible opportunities we offer, and be open to the idea to grow in Ghana and grow with Ghana.
Thank you very much for that video. Indeed, Ghana is ready for business, and there's no doubt that Ghana is ready to host the African Development Bank Group come 2022, and we're praying that we'll be able to meet physically. Honorable Governors, please allow me to invite the Chairperson of the Boards of Governors, Honorable Kenneth Ofori-Attah, the Governor for Ghana for the African Development Bank, to make his closing remarks.
Is this working? Thank you very much indeed. It's truly an honor to be here. Let me thank our president for giving us his time and for hosting this really seminal AGM. Your Excellency, Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, honorable fellow governors of the African Development Bank Group, boards of directors of the African Development Bank Group, senior management and staff of the African Development Bank Group, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for your active participation in the 2022 annual general meetings of the African Development Bank. It is a virtual one and has been impeccably organized. I'm sure hosting it in Ghana added the flawless organizational magic which we are experiencing. I'd like to express my profound gratitude to the AFDB management and staff who have worked around the clock tirelessly to organize this very successful annual meeting. To you, I say Ayuko, our kind word of appreciation for work well done. Before we call time on this event to close the curtain, I wanted to use this opportunity to address a question most often posed to me in the past year by colleagues, journalists, and friends and family. Why does it matter so much to change the global financial architecture? So let me explain the nature of this threat as I see it. First, all of us are being asked to somehow normalize the situation. Countries and regions of the highest income get vaccinated, a global public good, more than 30 times faster than those with the lowest, while those in higher middle income countries have secured 68 doses per 100 people. Those in low income countries are wavering at 2 doses per 100 people. Where 2% of our GDPs was all we could afford for a stimulus package, 20% of GDP in the trillions of dollars was able to be used to support the northern economies. 2, that African countries and its infrastructure projects, by virtue of their postcodes, are inherently riskier than infrastructure projects in OECD countries, even when an assessment of credit and default risk proves otherwise. We pay an African premium for entry into the capital markets and another 5 to 6% for insurance for loans from our export credit agencies. That the capital base of Africa's Premium Development Bank, AFDB, with a total active portfolio of 60 billion or so, is woefully inadequate to meet the critical developmental infrastructure necessary to transform our continent meaningfully. The World Bank is able to deploy about 20 billion on our continent, and AFDB about 10 billion. And when you ponder on that fact, more than 130,000 lives have been lost, 130 million jobs have been lost on the continent in the space of a year, 30 million sent into extreme poverty, and 39 million into poverty. We need some 93 billion annually over the next decade to overhaul Sub-Sahara's infrastructure. To recover from this pandemic, low-income Sub-Saharan African countries will need some 245 billion by 2030 in additional gross external financing, while the whole of Sub-Saharan Africa will need 425 billion. With 17% of the global population, but 26% of the global disease burden, Africa accounted for less than 2% of the 10 trillion spent globally on health. The threat today, therefore, It's not that of the 1930s or 1940s. It is not big powers going to war with each other. Instead, it is the ever real and present danger of an entire continent being left behind. The global financial architecture designed without Africa some 75 years ago is designed inadvertently to exclude Africa and therefore perpetually extend this disequilibrium. I can assure you that if we continue business as usual, we'll end up right back here in the next decade and the decades after, still talking about how we are now well positioned or Africa on the rise to meet our developmental aspirations. Africa cannot truly rise unless a new global financial architecture is designed. So for enlightened self-interest, we must all be about this business of recreating the current global financial architecture. We need to use this crisis, let us not waste it, to ask searching questions and empower institutions to be true architects of transformation. To paraphrase President Akufo-Addo, COVID-19 gives us a historic opportunity to recreate, reimagine our continent, to recreate, reimagine Africa Development Bank, a chance to do something meaningful. We can and should build an Africa that is confident and prosperous enough to stand on its own 2 feet, an Africa that is beyond the dependence of charity of others to cater for the needs of its people and engages with other countries competitively through trade and investment and political cooperation for enhanced global peace and security and economics of mutuality. Africa needs AFDB to show leadership and courage to address our continent's failing systematically, to be scalable, and to structurally change. Africa needs ADB to take up that task of promoting good governance and invest deeply in Africa's transformative sectors to protect the future of our youth, especially our women, and to transform our economy. The task ahead is daunting, but I do not doubt that if we work together, we shall prevail. And indeed, we shall prevail. I've been very encouraged on these 3 days. But there are a few things that we could address. First, the IMF should lend at least 100 billion of its 650 billion in special drawing rights to Africa by the 2022 IMF World Bank annual meetings. Finance ministers in Africa had advocated for 25 to 33% of the 650 billion to be focused on the continent. This should include reallocation to fund universal access to vaccines through the WHO, ACT, Accelerator Africa, and the Africa Vaccine Acquisition Task Force, to replenish the Africa Development Bank and AfriExim to buy down some of the very expensive debt, to support investment in green investments, help the private sector to create jobs and facilitate trade to build back better and greener. To bridge the startling divide in fighting COVID-19, support for the health defense infrastructure mechanism for Africa, and increase the flow of badly needed vaccines to more vulnerable regions. I concur with the call of the Rome Declaration of the Global Health Summit on May 2021 for voluntary, maybe mandatory licensing and technology transfers for vaccine manufacturing in Africa. The bank should raise funding to develop health infrastructure and pharmaceutical firms, as came out very clearly in our discussions. Second, we have to enhance Africa's integration into the international financial architecture and position the continent at the forefront of sustainable finance. A 1% increase in trade for us results in almost 70 billion in resources for the continent. For countries with debt carrying capacity, we need to support fair markets and equitable ratings for African sovereign debt. And for countries with debt vulnerabilities, we need to support a resolution through the G20 and Paris Club Common Framework for debt treatment, restructuring, reprofiling beyond the debt service suspension initiative. We also need to bring the private sector to the table. This is an unprecedented period in global life, and everybody should be at the table. It also requires multilateral development banks and international financial institutions to work as a system to strengthen public debt transparency and management and crowding private finance with enhanced risk-sharing instruments. Third, we must reposition our bank to lead our economic recovery on the continent. Africa cannot be the only region in which the World Bank financing outpaces our own development bank. The historic 115 billion capital injection from Africa Development Bank shareholders, you, my governors, is timely. Deeply rooted in Africa, a well-capitalized Africa Development Bank offers Africa a more focused path and institution to secure Africa's future. I'd like to reiterate that the ADF should be similarly seen as the World Bank has treated IDA, so we should really fast-track a way in which we leverage off on that. Fourth, our President Akufo-Addo and President Adesina, in the opening remarks a few days ago, advocated establishing an African Stability Mechanism and an Africa Liquidity and Sustainability Facility. The African Stability Mechanism will protect the continent against external shocks by providing instant emergency access to financial assistance for countries in financial difficulty. The Liquidity and Sustainability Facility could also underwrite a more effective market entry for African debt that will reduce the high liquidity premium we pay for linking up with the capital markets. Lastly, to be a custodian of good governance and accountability for Africa's transformation, the bank should maintain the quality of the bank work, improve the quality, governance, infrastructure, and strength of its governance and its responsiveness to the needs of its members. So taking together these innovations can pave the way for a new global financial system based on equity, sustainability, economics of mutuality, and collective prosperity. I cannot, however, thank you enough for your spirited and impassioned contribution and the compassion and care that have been exhibited this week. I am most encouraged and truly look forward to the coming year to build this bond of friendship so that in the end, we will have the Africa we want, the Africa beyond aid. And this is a turning point that we must seize. I put a slide on the screen that I would like to say a few things about. The slide, please. Yeah. So as I sit in my seat as a finance minister, working one's way from the farm to become finance minister of this great country, there are certain things that keep me balanced. And what I like to say, if you are seeing the screen, I like to see that, first of all, is Ghaneka. And this is something I shared as I was exiting from being chairman of the Development Committee of the World Bank. So the Ghaneka by Picasso in 1937 reminds us of the devastation of war and the catastrophic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on health and economy of the world. It's a very unsettling picture that confronts us, but we should ask ourselves, what kind of illustration will the Picassos of our time reflect at this generation? 113 million people out of job, 130 million dead, 30 million in extreme poverty, 450 million youth. How are we going to keep sustainability? The second illustration is Le Guin's The Ones Who Walked Away from Omelas. And it truly just asks the question, how long we'll continue to live the life of leisure for us and affluence while the girl wallows in the dungeon whilst Africa wallows in the dungeon of vaccine nationalism and rating agency downgrades? Are we going to be true to our conscience and reach out to support the vulnerable amongst us where it counts most, or turn a blind eye? And it is now. Where is the fierce urgency for change? Then we look at the Good Samaritan, and Martin Luther King admonishes us to love our neighbor as ourselves, and therefore to ask the question, if I or we do not help this man, what will happen to him? If we as governors closest to Africa through our relationship with the Africa Development Bank do not take up the task, as Paul said in Corinthians, as who is equal to the task? Who else is but us? Then we look at the parable of the 2 fishes and 5 loaves to feed the 5,000. Simply stated, there is more than enough to save the world's economy, even at this time. Fresh capital, new SDRs, debt restructuring, debt cancellation, debt forgiveness, credit enhancement, a coordinated approach that can be found to solve this problem of 845 billion of debt for Africa that we can restructure. So I asked myself, where are the Jean Monnets of our time, working with selfless passion and perseverance to create a new Europe then, and now we want to create a new Africa, the Africa we want, the Africa beyond aid. I think COVID-19 has reiterated this truth, that none of us can live in isolation, so it is essential for us to have a shared burden of responsibility toward the current world situation. We must step up and work together to build a new foundation for a better world, a better Africa. This is a moment we must seize. So permit me to sum up my reflections. As Martin Luther King said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. May this burden of responsibility we feel today stir us to righteous action, and if we seek his righteousness to guide us, let our hearts lead us so that we get the Africa we want and the Africa beyond aid. Thank you very much, and look forward to working with you the next year.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chairperson. That was quite a reflecting, I'm lost for words actually to describe what you gave to us to reflect upon. And hopefully your message has gone deep into the hearts of our governors. Honorable governors, coming to the end of the annual meetings, of course, we try to replicate what we could have done if we were holding the meetings physically. And so at this present time, I request the team to please show us a highlight of the key moments of the annual meetings, the best of the annual meetings. Please show the best of the annual meetings. I am pleased to welcome you to the 2021 annual meetings of the Boards of Governors of the African Development Bank and the African Development Fund.
These annual meetings have an appropriate focus, building resilient economies in post-COVID-19 Africa, which is an unavoidable imperative our continent is to recover from the effects of the pandemic.
We need to build in a sustainable way ahead. George Santayana's famous aphorism is particularly true when it comes to sovereign debt. Quote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it."
There is a plan, the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, endorsed by African leaders. They put it on the table. The African leaders have said, we are in.
You look at the 1.3 billion population in Africa, and you wonder how, without those resources, we are going to be able to protect our own people.
We are resilient. Africa's brighter future beckons, and we are ready.
Thank you very much for that video. Let me also use this opportunity to apologize to Ireland. I understood after the governor's dialogue that somehow the moderator failed to see your hand when the governor, alternate governor, raised their hand to make a contribution. We're very sorry about that, and hopefully this will not happen again. Thank you very much for understanding. Honorable governors, Mr. President, executive directors, staff colleagues, we want to thank you for your participation at the annual meetings. And we want to thank the team. We want to thank the country manager and the team in Ghana for supporting us. We want to thank all members of the technical committee of the annual meetings. You know yourselves, I don't want to call the department so that I don't miss anyone, but you worked so hard to ensure that we pulled off this meeting. And thank you so much, governors. We wish you all the best. See you next year. Hopefully, I pray, hopefully, in person in Accra, Ghana. Thank you. Bye-bye. Au revoir. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, governors. Thank you, governors. Bye. Thank you so much.